What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Inside Lines podcast. I'm your host, Atoya Burleson.
And I am Tia Avril.
Coming up a bit later in the show, we'll be chatting with Chief of Staff at Essence, Barkue Tubman. We'll also be getting into our hot take this week, where we'll discuss the civil lawsuit filed against former NFL Buffalo Bills punter, Matt Araiza. But first, did you know you can watch us on YouTube? That's right. Inside Lines podcast is on YouTube. We are now posting the full video of each episode on YouTube. Just search for Inside Lines podcast on YouTube or find the link in our show notes. Okay, now that we got that out of the way, Tia, happy birthday. Let everybody know what you did over the weekend.
Thank you. Okay, I had if y'all know Virgos, normally we celebrate all month.
Yeah.
But this time I did a 3-day celebration. So Thursday we went to go see one of my favorite local bands, Zach Bruce. So they were like the aquarium brought in like live music or whatever. So we were checking it out. There were 2 other bands performing, but we saw Zach and left. That was amazing. Then went to dinner up at the Four Seasons and drank too much Thursday night.
Oh, I love the Four Seasons in downtown Seattle.
Yeah.
Love, jealous.
Yes, and they have such good drinks. Like the spa is nice. The bar, they do live music at the bar on Thursday and Friday nights too. And then Friday went to the spa and then had a girls' dinner, and we laughed and drank so much. Like I had a great time. And then Saturday I went to the Kendrick Lamar concert.
Okay.
And let's just say we drank entirely too long. Like we started drinking at about 4:30 and didn't finish until like midnight. And it was like a constant flow. I was like, I'm too old for this.
It hit you all of a sudden.
It did. But when I say, so I had been telling Cliff in general, like, I can't wait to go back to Charlotte. Like Charlotte's our home base. Like, that's where I feel most comfortable. And I'm like, I have friends here, but I'm not like super close to anybody. And we started doing these like dinners with a few like Black couples like once a month. And the ladies there, I had just high level said, yeah, we should do a spa day. Or let's go do something different, like, you know, a band or whatever. And then leading up to my birthday, they were like, okay, we got tickets to go see the band on Thursday. We're doing this on Friday and we're going to the concert on Saturday, like 3-day celebration for your birthday. And that was like one of those, I didn't know I needed it until it happened. Cause I'm like, yo, I got some friends here. Like, you know what I mean? Like people that were like so excited to celebrate me.
Yeah.
And we just had a great time. So.
That's what's up. Tell me about Kendrick Lamar, because I heard his concert was off the chain.
Absolutely. Now, I cannot tell you about the opening acts because we didn't see them. But you know how like some rap concerts, like they just walk back and forth across the stage. Like it's not really anything to it. Mm-hmm. Not Kendrick. It is a full-on production. Like you can tell that he's passionate about his craft, but he's also passionate about putting on a show. Right. Yeah. So he's sick. Like I had a grand, like I just told one of my friends, I said, I need to check his schedule because I'm going to see him again. Like before he finishes this tour, I'm going. Right. And then what's funny is, so we were at dinner and one of our friends text asking like, oh, you know, happy birthday. What you doing? I'm like, going to the concert. Are you coming? She didn't know the concert was coming. We just so happened to have 2 more tickets. 45 minutes. She was at the concert. And I'm like, I love those type of situations too, where you just like make it happen.
I love it. That, you know what? You couldn't ask for a better weekend than that. That sounds amazing. I've always wanted to see Kendrick, and you're the second person that told me that he can bring it. Yeah. So I look forward to him coming out this way.
Absolutely.
That's for sure.
Low key, we can try to catch him and do one of these ladies' dinners.
I was just going to say, have a repeat, but not for 3 days, just one.
I'm too old for 3. Okay. Tap out.
All right.
What about you, Toya? You had a busy weekend too.
Yeah, but mine's not as exciting as yours, so we don't have to get into it.
No. Okay, but so Mia's been in a performance camp for 3 weeks.
Yes, I did. I went and picked her up from a performance camp, and was very emotional for both of us. She started crying as soon as she saw me, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful moment. And now she's back like she never left. I actually redid her room while she was gone because she was like, "Mom, I want like a tween, like teenager type room. I want this all white room. I want it to be what did she call it? She called it." Oh my gosh, I can't remember the name. But anyways, it's basically all white with a little bit of greenery. She wanted succulents in there.
Come on, Mia.
So she asked me if I would do it. And I said, if I have time, I will. So not only was I excited to see her and we had to drive home, but when she walked into her room, I think it's called like Bohemian Chic or something like that. She was so excited. She was like, I can't believe it. I can't believe this is my room. She absolutely loved it. So that made my weekend. I was happy. And then a friend swung by yesterday with her 4 boys because she'd picked 2 of her boys up from camp. So she's like, hey, I want the boys to all get together and I'd love to catch up with you. You remember Amy Peterson?
Yes, Amy.
So she came by with the 4 boys and all of our kids hung and we caught up and it was unexpected girlfriend time. I was so tired, but when she came, I was so filled and it was just a great day. It really was.
Yeah. So. And you know what too? Amy is like easy. So you don't feel like you got to host and do all the things. Y'all can literally just chill,
Yeah, and we always pick up like right where we left off. Like we were neighbors in Seattle when our men played for the Seahawks. So we were like true neighbors. We always had the best time together. So when we get together, we just rekindle that, and it's so much fun. The kids have a good time. They're my boys and her boys are all so grown. Well, most of hers, but so yeah, we had a great time, and I'm gonna miss her. Like when she left, we were like, it wasn't enough time, but it was enough for us to catch up and let the kids enjoy themselves.
Nice. So. Okay, so you got to share pics on our IG of Mia's before and after room makeover and her reaction, because I already know Mia. She'd be so appreciative even for like the smallest things. So
she really is. And I kind of downplayed it like I wasn't doing anything. So she was completely surprised. So it was a good thing.
Nice.
All right, let's get into this week's hot takes. All right, Tia, it's time for this week's hot takes. What we got?
This week in Hot Takes, we are discussing a civil lawsuit filed against former NFL Bills rookie punter Matt Araiza. So Matt was drafted in the 6th round of this year's NFL draft, and he had just won the starting position. So there was a lawsuit filed against him towards the end of last week, or it came out towards the end of last week, and where he is being accused of raping a 17-year-old senior in October of 2021. Now, the young lady alleged that Matt served her alcohol, but she also thinks that there was some other intoxicating like substances in the drink. So where she said he raped her outside, where she was like in and out of consciousness, brought her inside of his house where the party was taking place, where 2 other men also sexually assaulted her. So her attorney said they had actually informed the Bills about this roughly June, July. But the Bills and their coach are like, yo, we found out about it. We did our investigation. And for us, it was his word against hers kind of thing. But with the lawsuit becoming public and all the things, they decided to release the punter. So I think we're getting in kind of some sticky territory. But Atoya, do you think the Bills should have released Matt prior to any criminal charges being filed or the resolution of this civil lawsuit?
I do not, and I'll tell you why. Because they already knew. So I feel like they're now releasing him because of the pressure that they feel from the outside. So whatever you chose to do, stick with it. If you feel like it was his word against hers, if you feel like you weren't sure what's going to happen and you wanted to see it play out, then let it play out. But now that it's made public and other people know, so then you decide to release him, it makes you look bad as an organization.
Yeah.
What do you think?
So I understand why they released him, because if you look at the Deshaun Watson situation, they're like, we don't want no parts of this shit, like ting too much, right? But this does make me wonder, and they haven't released like all the details, but I wonder what is happening with any criminal charges, because the young lady was 17 and he was 21 at the time. Like, he was a senior at San Diego State, I believe. But what I am afraid of is the accusations and the judgment from like public perception, right? So this young lady filed a civil lawsuit, and what I said earlier was it's her word against his right now. I don't know what evidence or anything they had. Like, maybe, we'll find out more information about that later. But I don't like the fact that anybody can make an accusation and then immediately they're actually guilty before the facts come out.
Exactly. So, and you guys knew about this. You knew, and you decided to stick it out. Why now maybe there is more that came out. We don't know. I have a lot of questions, in regards to this, because I feel like if there was something that needed to be handled originally when this happened, I think maybe the police did their due diligence, obviously. So it is interesting how the Bills decided at this point to release him. A little late in the game and a little suspect, especially because there was other probably organizations that knew as well that decided to pass in the beginning, which is respectful. But you knew and you decided to keep him, and now decided, I don't like that. That just shows lack of credibility on your end. So, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with this for sure.
Yeah.
I do have a question though.
What's up?
Why are you 17 on a college campus, going to college parties? Mm-hmm. I have a daughter, so I am, and I'll be in her ear too. I'm like, there's just certain things we can and cannot do, but 17?
Yeah, but you know what? So yes, I had the whole thought of like, you 17, you had no business being there. But at the end of the day, she was there, and like, regardless, she could have been drunk, passed out. She shouldn't have been raped in no fit form of fashion. If that's what happened. No,
I'm
right?
not talking about that. Yeah, separate from that. I'm talking about as a mama.
Yeah, but but you're bringing up a good point, in that there is. I'm saying this, y'all, and I be calling myself super liberal, but in some situations, I'm like, eek. It's so interesting, and I want us to dive deeper in this in another episode, but women are like taught so much to be like on guard and like protect themselves from men or like these type of situations. And I really wonder what people are teaching their boys. So like, or what types of conversations they're having with their boys too, right? Because we can say all day, oh, she ain't had no business being on there. You were 17 years old. You had no business being on the college campus, and you damn sure didn't have any business partaking in any alcoholic beverages, right? Like, that's her.
And where were your friends? Right. There's so many questions I have, because I think about you and me, Tia. Like, if we go somewhere, at the end of the day, we're like, where's so, what I'm saying? Where's so-and-so? Like, it's just like, you think about girlfriends. Like, there's just so many questions as a mom.
Yeah, but I'm not going to lie and say that I was not underage drinking, or that we have lost friends in a party or two. But I do wonder what types of conversations people with, college age, high school age boys at this point, like, what types of conversations are they having with their boys to prepare them for these? Like, if we're saying, girl, you 17, you ain't got no business doing this, don't drink, you could be raped, you could be whatever, like, what's the other side of that conversation?
Well, and the reason you have to tell your girls that is because, to your point and my point, we talk to our boys, we speak into their lives, we prepare them as well as our daughters. But there are some parents that live in this let boys be boys world. Oh, boys can do what they want.
Which grinds my gears.
I don't play that.
Yeah.
It does. So for that reason, I have to protect my daughter. For that reason, I have to tell my daughter, this is why you can't do that. It's not because of her brothers. It's because of these other parents that allow their kids to do whatever and just chalk it up to boys being boys. And that is never okay. So as a mama of a little girl, I'd be like, what were you doing? Why were you there? Let's talk. We talked about these crazy boys. There's some boys out there ain't got no sense. Like, that's just, yeah. So that's kind of the perspective I'm always, and I know Mia's tired of me, but that's just the way I am, because we can't expect other people to do right. We only can protect ourselves, even when we step out of our house. We don't know what these people around us are doing or saying, or, you know what I'm saying? You always have to, and especially in the heightened, I feel like ever since COVID, you're always like on height. Like I'm always looking around more. Like I don't know what it is, but now I feel like everything's on 10.
Absolutely. I'm definitely more paranoid. I want us to dive deeper in this. Let's bring in some experts or something to have a deeper conversation on that part of it. But all in all, True. I am a bit nervous about what accusations do and can do for people's lives. Like, because I'm looking at it from, to your point, a mama bear of 2 boys, right? And so I would hate for my son to be accused. Is his word against hers, and now his life is blown up, and we don't know, what's going on. So
what's true and what's not. That's the hardest part.
Yep.
Okay, that's it for this week's Hot Takes. Coming up next, our chat with Chief of Staff at Essence, Barkue Tubman. On the show today, we have someone we are very excited to talk to. She is Chief of Staff at Essence Communications and Essence Ventures. She is a highly accomplished executive with diverse international and entrepreneurial experience. She promotes and advocates for women to find their confidence and walk in it. And if y'all didn't know, she was part of one of the most highly successful years at Essence Festival this year. And if you weren't there, you missed it. Barkue Tubman, welcome to the show.
Hello.
How are you?
I am wonderful. I am absolutely incredible.
That's awesome.
Amen.
I love that. People don't say that too often. So we thank you for coming on today. So let's talk about your name. You are an international businesswoman. You grew up in Liberia. Tell us more about how your international business ventures and how you got started.
So I always say this. I was born in Liberia, raised in America, in New York City, with very Liberian parents. So you never lose the upbringing and, the values that come from being raised by African parents, Liberian parents. So I take it further, take it to the beginning. When we came to the U.S., I came to the U.S. in 1980. There was a war in Liberia. My family was actually in government. My dad was in government. He was a senior senator. My grandfather, who was dead already, he'd already passed, was in government. My grandfather was the president of Liberia for a very, very, very long time. They actually call him the father of modernization for Liberia. Liberia is also one of the poorest countries in the world that's really struggling to change that narrative and just the reality. And so growing up here with very Liberian parents, one of the things that we learned very early on, just by virtue of being African, is our leaders are Black, our role models are Black. That's all we know. We really don't know about racism we're Black people. So within our society, there's segregation, just as I think that's just a global thing.
Is this segregation just based on economics, or is it a lot of colorism?
It's segregation based on economics, mostly. And then there's some tribal stuff as well. And so just growing up here, I just was always, I went to the United Nations International School in New York City when we came. And then I went to the Hunt School, to prep school in Princeton, New Jersey. So I've lived, my parents did a really great job to, even though they were going through a lot, we didn't know, I think as a mom or as a parent, one of the things that you struggle with, no matter what the transition is to keep some sense of normalcy for your children. And so as they were navigating a full war and their whole worlds being just torn apart, they made sure that we still got what they wanted for us. And it was the best of what they could give to us, in that time. And it was good. So always, my mother is an entrepreneur. My dad is a lawyer, politician, now an evangelist. It's a whole different podcast.
When you started school here, like you went to school at the United Nations school and then to prep school, was it a diverse experience?
So coming from Liberia, going to the United Nations school was extremely diverse. In fact, it is not the reality of what you get in real life, because everybody at that school comes from a different country, has a different cultural background, is, so when I say I grew up with very Liberian parents, I had friends that were Turkish. They grew up with very Turkish parents. I had friends that were Japanese. They grew up with very Japanese parents. And so when you went to a friend's house, it was like you were in a different country. I traveled the world with just being in New York City by going to their homes, because everybody was so immersed in their culture. And I always said, like, once I have kids, I would love for them to go to the school. I think the school has changed a lot. But so it was extremely diverse. Like, this is not a place racism existed. And then I went to boarding school in Princeton, New Jersey, and I was one of 3 black girls there, black people. And then I went to college in Elon in North Carolina, in the South. And so I went from the most celebrated, diverse, celebrated school from elementary school to just getting worse by the years, right? And I was getting older, so understanding it and navigating it was very, very different. And my friends were not of one race. My friends, I connect with everybody. That's kind of how we were raised. My family was in politics. Liberia had foreign nationals. I had Lebanese uncles. That's just how we grew up. So as I became like minority in America at school in Princeton, navigating that. So, and then you get to, North Carolina. I will never forget. I remember there was and honestly, I think that's actually even when I started to really, really understand racism, is when I got to college and in the South, right? Like from New York City. And I remember there was a guy who worked at I think he was like in the janitorial staff, and he had a T-shirt on. He was a white guy, and it said, "Go ahead, buckwheat, make my day." And for those that may not know, buckwheat was the black character on Little Rascals, and I was like, "Oh, this is like a real thing."
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. And that was the moment. And then all the black students lived on one side, and I was just in the middle. Of course, and then I had to go with my brothers and sisters, because I'm like, y'all got it.
Y'all ain't gonna leave me out here.
I gotta be smart now. I gotta be smart.
Y'all will not leave me out here, okay?
So it just, I mean, my upbringing was just crazy and interesting, and I think all of that prepares me for what I'm navigating now, because there, as transitions come, having come from Liberia to there being a war to, your whole world just being like, just changing in front of you, but you don't even understand what's happening. Your parents navigating around that, trying to provide normalcy, new schools after new schools, new experiences after new experiences. You sort of at some point you have to learn how to adjust. You have to learn how to pivot. I think those are the things that have been super helpful for me as an entrepreneur, is the ability to pivot. And funny enough, being at Essence now, Essence is very much a growth company. The Rich Dennis, the owner, always says, like, I don't want us to, like, nobody should call us corporate, because he's such an entrepreneur at heart. And so all of these experiences are so helpful in navigating that space, because there's constant pivots to grow the business.
So how did you decide to get into the entertainment industry?
Okay, so
that's what I was gonna ask too. We got to go back. Before
right,
Essence,
because I'm thinking like
know.
politics and like having the strong political background with your family,
the African part, especially back then. So here's the interesting thing is my mom was always into fashion. She owned boutiques. She used to model, and she always, when we came to America, one of the first things my mother did was put us in dance school. So my sister and I were at the Broadway Dance Company, because we started dance very early. So entertainment and arts has just always been a part of our life. We, as I was getting out of college and was like, well, what do I want to do? I wanted to get into fashion. I didn't go to school for fashion. I went to school because I had to get a degree. As I'm African. My parents.
Right, I was about to say your parents were not like
they don't play.
Right. No, they don't play. But I went to school because I had to go to school, not because I really had a plan for what I was going to do with school. Right.
Right.
I am very grateful that they were who they were, because there's nothing like having a degree. Not that you can't be successful without. It definitely does help. But got out of school, got into fashion, started working at the Express. I don't even know if those even still exist, like the Limited Express. I was like the youngest manager in New York City. Like apparently in New York City, the managers are supposed to be like 25 and older. I'm fresh out of college, but I'm just, I'm Barku. So, but I wanted to get into the entertainment industry because I wanted to be, oh my God, I can't believe I'm about to say this to Atoya. I wanted to be a rapper.
Okay.
Did you really? Wait a minute, where's this music?
Wait, we want to hear some bars at the end of this, but okay. You're going to drop some bars. Wait for it.
Where does this music reside? We have got to.
I'm sure it's somewhere. I have no idea. I mean, it was a whole thing. I used to go around and perform, especially like the Liberian community at their functions. I became I would MC programs. It was so crazy.
I need some footage. Somebody find some footage of Barku rapping. I would love to see this.
And when you find it, send it to me. I might pay you for it.
I love it.
It's like clear the internet right now.
Clear the internet. So I actually got into entertainment because I wanted to be in front of the camera. Like I wanted to tell my story my way. I felt like I had stories to share, and I'll never forget. There was a time that I left my book, that I would write all my rhymes in at my dad's house, and it had a lot of curses, and I was like, oh my God. And he found it. Remember, he's an evangelist now, right? Politician, lawyer.
That's what I was sitting there thinking.
So he called me and he was like, I found your book. And I was like, oh God, Jesus. And he was like, but I think, my father, he's not confrontational, sweetest man ever. He's going to be like 87 this year. I am his youngest child out of 6. And he, is very diplomatic. And he was like, I think maybe you should do gospel rap. That was his way of saying these curse words are just not going to do it. And I'm like, okay, daddy. Because, there's no, it could have been worse. I'm like, okay, this is it. And so, but one of the things that I learned in trying to get into the business was, I understood that it was a business, right? So people weren't just showing up and things were happening. There were managers, there's a process, that you have to go through. So as talented as one is, it's called the music business for a reason. And so I wanted to also, in the midst of trying to be creative, also want to learn the business so I can make sure that, I govern this career that I was sought after in that moment better. So I think in the quest for understanding the business and my father's prayers probably being a lot stronger than mine in those moments, I got into artist management. I didn't first. It's so funny because my brother-in-law was working at Motown at the time, but he wasn't in the music side. He was in business development, Clarence Avant. And so, my brother-in-law, Eddie Brown, they were instrumental, and they were the ones that started Motown Cafe. And so, when I shared what I was trying to do, and he was like, well, I don't know on the music side so much. He was like, but our travel agent is looking for somebody. And there was this traveling company that all they did was do travel for entertainers, right? And Motown was one of their clients. And he was like, our travel agent is looking for somebody. I was like, I'll take the job. He was like, what do you know about travel? I was like, I know how to travel. I like to travel.
Right.
And when I went for the interview, it was so funny. I went for the interview and that was they were like, well, have you had travel experience before? I said, absolutely not. I said, but I know how to, I love to travel. That's literally what I bring to the table here. I love to travel. And it was an Indian firm, and I'm a Black girl, and most of the clients are Black. So I think that was the advantage at the time. And so I got into that business and built relationships with people that I have relationships with today that were very instrumental, still very instrumental, like Brooke Payne, who manages New Edition. I would just handhold everything that they did from tours, Michael Blue Williams, Shakim with Flavor Unit and Queen Latifah, and just, Boyz II Men. And so I would just take these particular clients and meet them at the airport and do things that, were not typical of the travel agency. Just help in so many ways and just lean in more than was expected.
Yeah.
So I started to build my own relationship with them.
Yeah. With the company, right? So they're like, okay, that's Barku. She's going to be here. She makes sure everything is on point.
And people like to feel special. They
yes.
Especially in that business. I mean, I think everybody does, but that world, like that's where the spoiled kids reside, right?
Yeah.
Listen.
And because you like to travel, you're like, I know exactly what they're wanting. I'm going to deliver above and beyond.
Absolutely. And I think also the clients, it's so funny because when I would meet them, they would think with my name Barku, the company was called Traveling Taj. They knew those guys were Indians. Their names were Sultan. I forget the other guys, Ali, and there was Barku. And so when they first met me, when they meet me, they'd be like, oh, we thought you were Indian also. And I'm like, no, I'm just this little black African girl sitting up in here. But I spend time building relationships, with them outside of just booking travel. Because I knew like that was my way in. I also am of the mindset that, that's the way God designed for me to get into the business, right? It wasn't the typical way. It was, here's a travel agency opportunity. My brother-in-law decided that he thought he would just mention it. I don't even think he thought I would react to it. But when I said I would, he made the introduction and I got the opportunity. And for me, it's just about lead me to the door. And I will get through those doors, right? I don't believe, it's probably something I need to work on too. I don't know how to ask for help too much, right? So I just need you to give me an opportunity and I promise you, I will take it to the next level.
Well, let's talk about that confidence because coming up in a time where it was predominantly male in that industry and then you walk in, you're creating relationships, you're knocking down doors. Where did you find that confidence? Because a lot of women struggle with that. They don't know how to navigate that. Where did that come from?
I think it comes again from my upbringing. My mom, my dad. I had very strong women around me. My aunt. I just always saw them go, like do what they're supposed to do. I don't feel like no was an option for them. They did groundbreaking things. They traveled the world, and I think it's so funny because I think I was more confident then. When you're younger, you don't think too much. You just do, right? You're sort of setting for a goal. When you're older, you process. There's too many things that's you have to process. Sometimes it's unnecessary, but you put so much pressure on yourself, right?
Because there's a lot more at risk, though, right?
Well, that's how you feel, right? But it's also a lot more to gain.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think back then, the confidence was I just had a destination. I knew where I wanted to go and I just need to get there. And there was no alternative for me. Right. For me, that was just what it is. That's what I focused on. And when I'm the type of person, like this is what I want to do, that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to focus on. And so the confidence, I think, definitely came from upbringing. Like I said, growing up in Africa, having the parents that I have, who just really poured into me and just, you can do it. Right. And so I jumped in. I don't even know if I was scared. I honestly really don't know if I was scared back then. I think I was just, so now when you ask the question, I'm thinking like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, what was I thinking that I could want to be a rapper, be in front of millions of people, tell a story? I don't know why anybody would care, to just sort of knowing that all I needed to do was be led to the door and just get me to the door and I'll get through the door and then I'll try to figure out how to get to the next door. But I'm also big on relationships. I think relationships are so key to anybody's success because nobody exists in a bubble. So I think building those relationships that were genuine, that were authentic, mutually respected. I think also I had support. I remember Deidre Tate, who is a friend today. It was my birthday and she was, it was Biv 10 Records. I don't know if every people know Deidre Tate. Biv 10 Records, she was the president of Biv 10 Records. And I remember saying to Deidre, we were on a call and I said, I think somehow I said it was my birthday and she hung up on me. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know what I just did. An hour later, the whole Biv 10 staff shows up at the office, cake, balloons. I mean, till today, I had my kids. Deidre drove to see me in Baltimore. I call her, she's my mentor. Then Deidre went on to work. She went on to be the president of Flavor Unit. I happen to also be working at Flavor Unit. So we just you build relationships that matter, and I think people always say it's a matter of who you know. I think it's it's all about who you know, but it's all about who you know that wants to support you.
It's funny that you say that. I remember when I was at Essence and we were on a panel there, we were talking about, I'd asked them, when you go through things in your life, how do you come out of them? And one of them she said, I remember when I got fired, and she said, I was devastated, I was down. And she said, and then all of a sudden I had people reaching out to me that I'd formed these relationships with, like, hey, come here. And she's like, I never really realized how important those relationships were and how they would catapult me later in life when I was in a bad spot. So that is a great, I think more women and more people in general need to understand how important it is to forge those relationships.
Honestly, I didn't learn about the importance of networking and developing relationships until it's too late, but it's never too late to do that. Right. But even leaving college and going into corporate America, I was still very closed off and still very socially awkward in, business setting. Don't invite me to a cocktail hour where I don't know anybody. Okay, please. That is my worst nightmare, And now our husbands played 10 plus years in the league. And so we've met so many people throughout that time. And now to run into people and they remember who you are and oh, what do you have going on? Oh, bet I can help you with this, that, and the third. I'm I wish I had have known that in college, because you have an unlimited amount of people that you can network with and build with then.
So I have this nonprofit, the Boss Lady Effect, and I bring it up now specifically because one of the things that we do is, the mission is to build a global network of boss ladies. And I am of the belief that, your network is a part of how you grow your net worth. And I think a lot of times as women, we see each other and immediately our first conversations is about family, the children. That's what it always goes to. And so we know people at that level, but we sometimes don't dig as deep as we should or spend time getting to know, that professional or, value or whatever somebody's really looking to work on and the synergies that exist. And for me, it's a global thing because I think I feel like what part of my mission is to bridge the gap between, Africa and the global Black diaspora. And I think there's some amazing women doing incredible things, have great stories to tell that can inspire. And as much as it's not always, it's sometimes it's people say it and it sounds cliche, do it scared. It really is true. You really are scared when you are invited to that networking event and you decide you're going to walk in there by yourself and you don't know anybody. You're not necessarily, you may go in there with makeup and you looking cute and everything, but you're nervous as hell because you're and to your point, if you feel like you're a socially awkward person, you don't know how people will respond to you, but you'd be surprised how people will sort of reach out to you. And I think we have to be more intentional on creating platforms and opportunities to bring us together, to talk to each other and understand how we really are stronger together. There's so much more we can do with and for each other and supporting each other if we would just even talk to each other. And so I do believe that networking, some of us even understand how to do it properly later on in life, but it really is never too late. And I think we should just be open. And most importantly, I think one of the things that's really important is just you have respect. You're not better than anybody. Anybody at the top or at the lowest has something that you can learn from. And I think that is something that, I got from my mom and my dad, that respect factor, right, is something that should just drive, because you don't need to be everybody's best friend, right? But if there's a level of respect, you can support them, they can support you, and we really are stronger together. So that my goal is to really bridge the gap and bring all of these boss ladies together that's from around the world, mostly the ones that look like us, intentionally. Everybody's welcome, but I have to say there is an emphasis and focus on that, because the goal is also to use this global network of powerhouses to change the world one boss girl at a time, giving these young girls an opportunity to see that we can all coexist. We can support each other and we can celebrate each other and make sure that success is not, in one place, but we can all have it.
That's good. Speaking of supporting each other, we as women, we do a lot, right? So we're the wife, we're the mother, we take care of, our business, the home, family members. How do you do it, Barku? Let us know.
I could ask you the same question, but I am going. I always say, I am a spiritual person. So I always say, honestly, it's really first and foremost by the grace of God. Like, I know for a fact that Barku probably would have quit. It is. I mean,
let me point out, Barku has triplets, 2 girls and a boy, 5 years old. 5-year-old triplets.
Gracious.
Okay.
And I have a husband.
Yes.
Not gonna
So
talk
you got
about,
4 kids. Now
I got 6.
And it's a thing. Like, I know you get tired. I know you're depleted, just like the rest of us. What do you do? Is self-care a hard thing for you to find? Do you practice it, ritually, or are you right in between?
So, you know what? I love to work out. Right. And self-care is not just the working out part. It's a holistic thing. So you can work out and still feel horrible. Right. So it's got to be like a 360 approach to mental health, mental wealth, self-care. You have to give yourself grace to prioritize yourself, because truth be told, if you're not 100% or if you're not feeling good, it's tough to be in a great mood or, exude positivity for your children, for your family, for your community. And even though sometimes you're not and you still have to show up and show up for them, it's even more draining if you don't incorporate some sort of self-care regimen. And by the way, I say this, and yes, it's what you're supposed to say, but it is the truth. It's also not easy. Right. It's, a work schedule that's just very grueling because your mission is so large. I don't even really say I have a job. Like, I'm in service to people. Like, anything I do must feel like service to a community, whether it's my entrepreneurial endeavors or whether it's, my role at Essence. And so you have to be intentional about self-care. It's so funny. I actually am thinking about getting a coach, because one of the places that I know I need help is time management, right? And time management, not because of every other meeting, time management so I can learn how to put in the time that I need for myself. Because ultimately what always happens is, if there's any time that I can remove or anything that needs to be adjusted to accommodate something else, it's the time that I usually have for myself.
Yes. And that's that service side of you, right? Serving others, doing for others. I get that 100%.
So, and I'm getting better in the sense that I've recognized it. So I'm trying to get the help. I have this thing that I say, people are like, you work out all the time. And I'm like, yeah, it's for vanity and sanity. It's a combination of both. I'm actually coming out with merchandising line, right? For that. It's vanity and sanity. Because I will not lie. I like to look cute.
Right.
Like, and I don't do it for, like, I have friends who, super cute, beautiful women. We used to go to nail salon together. They were just looking beautiful. They got married, and then it just all went out the window. And I'm just like, so you were doing it to get somebody, And so my manicure pedicures are for Barku.
Yes.
Right? Those are the things that you have to do for you, because no matter what, this person that was attracted to you was attracted to what they saw, right? They're hoping, I mean, some people are fine with it, to each his own. But for me, I need to know, and I need to let you know that, listen, I'm a catch, right?
It can be caught, okay?
And can be caught. No, even with my 3 kids.
Let them know. Let them know.
But it's something that it's hard. First and foremost, I will say, that whole I'm every woman thing, I do believe it exists. I do believe you can be a mom, entrepreneur, an executive, a philanthropist, a wife. I think you can do all of those things. What I have learned in time with age and wisdom is you just can't be all of them in the same minute. Right? You just can't, I'm a huge fan of Lauryn Hill. And one of the things that she says, the great prophet that is Lauryn Hill, is she says, 2 MCs cannot occupy the same space at the same time. It's against the laws of physics. And so you cannot be a mom a wife. So you own all those titles, right? But what you are in terms of like physically doing, immersing yourself in the minute, you can't be a mom and be on Zoom calls and actually either of them getting the attention they properly need.
That it needs. Yes.
And so you're like trying to do those things, but you're just depleting yourself, and nothing's completely getting done. That is good.
So
it's actually
it's like jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing.
Yes, bars. That was good right there. We got some.
Well,
I love it.
Listen, in Lauryn Hill, she is a prophet. I love this woman, but so I like to encourage people to be kind to yourself and understand that if you are somebody who is an achiever, you're an overachiever, you have goals, you have dreams, and when you become a mom, it's like you have goals and dreams for you, but you then have it for your family, you have it for the children, and so
all of those take precedence. Like you just automatically I'll speak for myself, but like you shift and it's like, okay, well, their goals are more important than mine.
Well, they kind of need you to accomplish them, right? Like they're not at the point where they know what decisions to make yet. So you're going off of your wisdom and what you hope will be right for them, right? And so, right, you take it and you put it on top of all that you had for yourself as well. Right. And sometimes what you have for yourself sort of starts going down like this. And so, one of the things for me is just always making sure that in the midst, especially having triplets, I don't want them to feel like they shouldn't do certain things because it's harder to move them around. So we've been traveling since they were 6 months. Like, it's people like, you left your house. I have friends who have twins and they're like, we didn't leave the house until they could walk. And I'm like, oh no, we move. Right.
That's the worst time to get started too, when they walk.
We move. And so I will say, very, very difficult and challenging, but not impossible when you make it, when you're intentional about it, when you understand where you might need help and support, where you might need accountability partners, where you might need to have a conversation with your partner, your husband or whoever, a friend. I think so that I just encourage that because it is something I think that I'm constantly working on.
No, I was going to say, you talked about finding accountability partners, finding people that can help you. Some people have problems asking for help. There's just people that struggle with that, right?
Yep.
So was that a struggle for you? And then you realize like, I can't do this by myself. I do need help and that's okay. Like, did you get to that point or?
I am just getting to that point. Right. I'm a Leo, right? I'm just, I don't know how to ask for help.
I know. You Leos, y'all special, boy. Y'all are special.
We are God's special people. We're not short bus special though. Like we are good special.
You are. You guys like literally attack and want to take over the world and do it all. And that's a gift and a blessing. My husband said it's a blessing and a curse, right? That's kind of how he sees it.
It is a gift and a curse, 100%, 100%. And asking for help is tough. Like one, I don't like people to tell me no. Like I like to, I want to figure, because I'm just like, I if you tell me no, I don't want to look at you sideways.
But part of it too is like you feel like you should know how to do. Well, you feel like you should know how to do it sometimes, right?
It's true.
Because if you're looking at everybody else and everybody else look like they got it together, everybody else look like they got kids and they're climbing a corporate ladder and starting a business and being a great husband or wife or whatever, and you like, okay, well, I'm trying to knock out 2 of those things. I should know how to do that, which makes it more scary to go and ask for help.
But see, I didn't feel like that. I was always like, oh, she's doing that. Let me find out how. Like, I want to know.
You're not a Leo.
Give me real talk.
And I'm a Virgo. Like, I'm a perfectionist. Like, you should know how to do that. Like, why are we doing this?
Look, forget about how it looks. Where's the book? Tell me where everything lies so I can read this through.
And that's smart. And if some of the most successful people, all they do when they meet you is ask you 5 million questions. Like they just ask questions upon questions upon questions. And I'm learning that. And I'm learning to know when I do need help. And I'm learning to be open and vulnerable at times that I'm not. And, like, and it's a struggle. And sometimes when I do it, I feel like people are looking at me crazy sometimes. But I also know that the results are usually what I want. And so you just have to, honestly, in order to get to where you want to go, you're just going to have to constantly challenge yourself for yourself. And I think that is something that one must understand is an everyday practice. I don't think it's a destination. It's the constant journey. If you're somebody like me or any of us on here, I think, wanting to evolve all of the time is something that's constantly a part of your to-do list. And in order to do that, you have to understand where you have to take inventory of self and where you need to reach out for whatever you need. Like I think I was telling you, Atoya, that, I love to go to the gym. I love to work out, but I just have not been motivated. So I realized what I needed is somebody to push me and hold me accountable. So that's when I called a trainer, right? Normally, I don't need a trainer. I get on my Peloton app or I go to the gym, take classes. I'm fine. But I knew in this moment right now, what I need is to find somebody who can help me get back on that horse. But you have to, I know I need to do it because I want to be healthy for my kids. I want to be healthy for myself. I want to be healthy for my family. And I want to look good.
And I want to look good and feel good. It's something about releasing those endorphins mentally. But then when you put on something, you're like, okay, this is more motivation. I like the way I look in this.
Listen, I am her. I am vanity and sanity all day long. Right. And so you have to let your pride down. And this year I said is my year of humility. And so this is what I'm teaching myself. This is what I'm going through. And so being humble and understanding that, yes, own the things that you've accomplished, own your greatness. But, being humble does not mean those things don't exist. Being humble is there for you to reassess, ask for help, ask questions, reach out to your community, and just, be vulnerable with self. Because I think that if you can be true to yourself all the time, you only can grow from that. And so, I'm trying to talk to, like a healer and a coach and, a trainer. And I'm like, I'm going to do this investment. Because I'm going to actually finally now invest in myself in a way that I've never done it before. And part of, I think, why I've been scared to do it is because it really does take a lot of work. When you connect with people that are professional in these areas, they don't do the work for you. They just guide you. But you actually have to do the work that takes you deep, deep, deep. I've had spiritual moments where, I just really spend time with God. And so in those moments, like sometimes it's tough and I'll be like, I got to confront God. And so you'll sit on the floor. And like, I remember I made a date to confront God and I almost didn't show up to the date because I was like, oh, I think this is going to go. I don't know what's going to happen here. And, so
emotionally drained.
Like, yeah. And so, but when me and him finally had that, we went at it. Right? I had why this and the tears were all over the place. I mean, I felt like 20 pounds lighter, like easy. It's just a release. And I think we all owe that to ourselves.
So good. It's so true. It is so true. You know what? You brought up a great point because I think about everybody goes to that point in their life where they hit a rock bottom or they hit a part of their life that's hard and difficult. But on the other side of that is positivity and the good. What's a point in your life where you went through that and it was a struggle, but you persevered?
Oh, I think I've had several. I think I've had several. I think the most recent one was, I was living in Liberia in West Africa. We actually just moved back to the U.S. July of last year, and it was in the midst of a pandemic, and business was slow, and I just was trying to figure out, like, what was I going to do? Like, what was next? What did happen was I created this IG live called Conversations with Boss Ladies, now Power Walks and Boss Talks, just because I wanted to connect with other women who I knew
bars, man.
Used to.
Right? Hashtag bars. She's killing it. Okay, keep going. Okay, we better.
I'll tell you about that in a minute. But it's it was in that minute. It was in that moment where the only thing I could do, like, business was slow. Like I'm like, we're in Liberia. There's a pandemic. The world's gonna shut down. Like, I can't be here with my kids. The healthcare system is shit. Excuse my French, but it really is shit. I'm like, if the world shuts down, this is not where I need. So it's just. This is not here. Like, I mean, everybody was like, George Floyd was happening, but I was like, I'll take America.
I'll take that just
America
in case.
for 10.
Just in case.
And so I think in that moment, was when I actually had those. I would literally go in my closet. I call it my war room. I would go in my closet in my house, sit on the floor. It was like 5. I would get up 5 o'clock in the morning, grab my coffee, sit on the floor, do meditation, and just really spend time meditating on the word and trying to hear what God was trying to tell me, like, where should I go? What was the direction? Because what I did not want to happen is, like, I would get calls about different clients, and I'm like, I don't want to just take something to take some. Like, I want meaningful things. And, sometimes when you're chasing the check, it's just
you
not
might
okay.
fold for something you don't want to really do. Yes.
And so in that moment, when I did not know what was going to happen, out of that birthed my conversations with Boss Lady. Out of that birthed purpose more than I had ever known before. Out of that birthed the importance of mission, even with my for-profit, even with like who I want to take on as clients, and that was one of those moments where you kind of hit rock bottom, but it allowed you to define what was next. And so, and then, when you have like, it was like, I have children. What am I going to do? It was a lot of things going through my head. And so that was one of those moments. I think that was the most recent time where I just really had to step back and look at it from 50,000 feet up instead of being in it, to be able to properly assess and understand that, my connection with God, and then it allowed me to create this platform where I connected with other women all over the world, who then also shared how they were navigating, this pandemic, the new reality at that moment, and navigating their struggles, their challenges, whether they were a mom, whether they were single, whether they were, just going through, this time that was so uncertain, where it wasn't personal, right? Like, it wasn't personal that I was going through stuff. It wasn't personal that business had slowed down. It wasn't, you feel that way when you're just used to doing, something. I had just done this amazing. At this time, actually, Essence was my client. I had produced the Essence Full Circle Festival in Ghana. Huge. It was amazing. We were on to talking about, what's next. I was so excited because connecting Essence with Africa, or I should say Essence playing that catalyst because of what that brand is and what I know it can do to bridge the gap for us globally as a community. I was literally at the helm of that, and the pandemic happened, and it was like, who's talking about Africa right now? Like, what but the interesting thing is, aside from coming up with conversations with boss ladies, now Power Walks and Boss Talks, because I'm gonna tell you about that later, I actually, it apparently touched so many people that I kept getting asked, Barku, you have to do this bigger. And so I put together, because my for-profit, my company MBL International Group is actually an experiential and creative agency. And so do events, national events for the country, for heads of states like, Ghana, Liberia, Guinea, like, Africa, America, like, all over. And so I put together a virtual conference. It was actually called the Boss Lady Effect Conference Summit, and Essence loved it, and they were like, we need that. And so I then partnered with Essence on the Boss Lady Effect Summit, but we changed the name to the I Am Speaking Summit, because my mission was to intentionally connect our voices globally. And so now Essence actually has I Am Speaking, and it is that platform that intentionally connects our voices globally as women. And it's a virtual experience that we have. So much came out of, me having to humble myself, dig deep, step away, reassess, understand purpose, confrontation with God, and that led me there. So I think, when you're going through something, understand that there's a reason, like the good, the bad, the ugly, it all comes together for good. This is a really true thing. You have to understand that failure, or what feels like failure, is only an opportunity to learn. It's an opportunity to elevate, because that's also where you learn who you really are. Like you learn your strength in those moments. You learn how resilient you are in those moments. You learn how creative you can get in those moments. And so, and those are the lessons, and those are the things that I think that take you and propel you into evolving or doing some of the greatest things you will ever do in your life.
What failure are you most proud of?
Ooh, That's an amazing question. Wow. And here I am, I'm the girl that always preaches, like people always say, like, you know, and I've spoken at graduations, high school, or to university students, and my challenge to them is always to fail. I don't think I've ever really zoned in on like one particular failure, but what failure? That is such a tough one. I think it would have to be, I know what it is. So after a while in the entertainment industry, I went back to Liberia. And I went back to Liberia with the mission of like, I was like, I'm going to build the entertainment industry here. I'm going to, grow this industry. I'm leaving America. Several reasons took me back to Liberia. But I saw the opportunity as an entrepreneur. And when I got there, as these people were coming out of war, entertainment was cool and all, but they were like,
that wasn't a priority.
Yeah.
We need
basics.
We need the basic necessities. And so while I know music fuels the soul and, it's a great unifier, it just wasn't what it was. And so I sat in that country trying to figure out what the hell did I just do? Like I just left. I had to tell my clients. I had, Grammy award winning producers Rock Wilder. I had Grammy, award winning. I was like, I'm leaving. I'm going. This is what I'm going to do. And they were looking at me like I was crazy. But I took the risk. And when I went there and it took a while for things to evolve. But it was that moment where I just sat there also and said, okay, I have an opportunity to help this country. I have an opportunity to play a role in the development of industries here. Because it's like Liberia, for me, as crazy as it was like a white canvas that I could paint anything on. And so in that moment where nothing else was coming through, I reimagined what I thought I wanted to do in Liberia. And that's when I actually started, rebranded my company and partnered with a lot of the global NGOs, the World Bank, the United Nations, the government's office, the president's office, and just use the skill set that I already had from entertainment to help support bringing through different workshops and things that were really helpful in the development of a nation that needed to be built in that moment. And so I think that was one of the failures that really just helped me realize what I actually really had when I was already depleted. So I think that's one of those moments, one of those defining moments. As well as my dad telling me, to be a gospel rapper, and then I had to go learn the business.
That right there is at the top of the list for sure. Yeah, hold on. We might get her to drop a few bars. Hold on.
I can't with you guys. You're not getting no bars. I'm not messing with you.
That's hilarious. Okay, so we talked about failures. Tell us about what's one of the biggest highlights in your life?
Of course, I'm going to say my kids.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
okay, outside of the triplets. Because let me tell you, they are Barku times 10, okay? Imagine that. They are so much energy.
Something special.
Yes.
They are something special. Honestly, I think one of some of the highlights for me is probably right now, being able to be a part of a team with the leadership at Essence, being able to do this work that I thought I knew how big it was until I sat in the seat to understand how huge this mission is to serve Black women and their community globally. I hope it sounds as big as I'm saying it, because it is huge.
It is. And
to be a part of that, and Essence has undergone and is undergoing a huge transformation in the best way, that I get to play a part of that. Like, this 50-year-old brand that has been a part of our community for as long as we all can remember, that there's not one person of color for the most part that I meet that does not have an Essence story, and I get to sit in a part of the leadership there. I mean, I think right now I'm living a highlight of my life, like, and so I take none of that for granted. I own the moment. I'm honored to be a part of this group of gladiators that really is so purposeful and intentional and mission driven first. And that's what it's so funny because, obviously, you want to make money or whatever. Like, we are driven by the mission first. That's even how now we engage with partners. It is like, if you don't believe, we love to have you at the party, but are you aligned with our mission? First, hands down. And so that for me, I have to say, I have to, sit and share that and celebrate that, because I think it's huge and it's a great opportunity that I don't take for granted.
You know what I've been enjoying over the last few years with Essence is just being able to truly see like so many of the events and the workshops and things like that Essence puts on, because it happens and it's happening somewhere, and sometimes you sign up so that you can attend in person, and sometimes you're not able. But being able to like really tap in virtually has been like next level. And to your point about how important Essence is to the community, I was telling Atoya, so I live in Seattle. Atoya lived here previously too. There ain't a lot of Black folks here. I'm in Bellevue too, right? And I came here from a very diverse city. Like, I lived in Charlotte. Like, Charlotte was supposed to be my home base, right? And I'm sitting here like, Seattle is not giving what I thought it was going to give for me. Like, the reason we were here, we go to Super Bowl, and Atoya invited me to go with her to Black Women in Sports.
That's what Barku.
And when I say I walked in the door and I felt like so filled immediately, like dope women, like everybody just in conversation to that socially awkwardly part. So many people just walked up and started talking, like, and it felt like you had known these people forever. When I'm like the vibe, the space that Essence is holding and creating for Black women is like next level.
Yeah.
Like, and I truly appreciate it.
I appreciate that you appreciate it, because, Atoya knows, like, that is one of the things that I've got an opportunity to launch since I've been at Essence. So I am super proud of that. And I tell people, like, they're like, what are you most proud of? And that's one of it, because I believe that is a franchise that is it's bigger than we even thought it was. Like to like exactly what you just shared, how it's been received, like for us, by us, like, yes, you can be on ESPN and that's great, but there's nothing like when your community drives in. We have a whole Black Women in franchise. And so, kudos to Rich Dennis for just building a franchise that is going to intentionally serve people in these different industries, the Essence Black Women in Hollywood, Essence Black Women in sports. So, he's like, we're doing sports, and I'm like, I'm gonna build it.
I'm literally still talking about that event.
And we've had three so far. So there's the one at Super Bowl. There was the one at the Women's Final Four. And Women's Final Four happens at the same time as the men's, and the men's is in New Orleans, and
and they get all the zhuzh.
And they get all the zhuzh, and we're like, well, we're gonna go where we need to give the zhuzh, right? And where the zhuzh is. And then we had one at the Essence Festival of Culture. And so we're gonna have 4, and there's another one coming up in the fourth quarter that I will share as soon as we have all of those details.
I was about to say, where is this, so I can buy my flight?
Right.
Atoya, we are readjusting this flight schedule. I travel
Real
schedules.
talk.
So yeah, so we it's been incredible to see how this franchise is growing, and just the full Essence Black Women in franchise. It's just, just the name of it, like Black Women in. It just says, we're coming for you. This is literally Black women in tech, music, law, Hollywood, film. It's a full, like, it is like, we are going to make sure, and that's why I said, like, the mission is big. Right. And it is huge. And we have some great partners. Like, we have a Global Black Economic Forum. We have the New Voices Fund. And these are organizations that, are from the advocacy arm. The New Voices Fund is that entrepreneurial empowerment and development arm. And so it's honestly, I thank you for mentioning the Black Women in Essence Black Women in Sports, because we'll be
there
really
next time.
to us.
Don't you worry. Okay, so before we wrap up, you need to tell everybody what's next for Barku.
So, I went from being this entrepreneur, and I still am, but to an executive, and so I'm navigating that for myself. And, I'm missing a part of that entrepreneur that was able to just do some of the things that I shared. And so what I'm working, and then even really spending more time with my nonprofit, because as I, accepted the role as at Essence, I had to be fair to Essence and fair to everybody, because I also, in myself, and I wanted to make sure that I set myself up for success, because ultimately that is how I would be able to contribute in the way that was needed to Essence in the community. And so now I'm back. Now that I've been there for like 8 months and I understand a lot more of what I got myself into, is I am now able to create opportunity and time to really focus on, or start to focus on, my nonprofit. So I'm back, with my weekly meetings with my team. I had onboarded about 10 girls in Liberia, and that are just driven. I don't like for them to believe their present reality should dictate what their future looks like. And so, we have a program called I Am Legacy, because legacy starts with them, regardless of what they think or what they're experiencing. And so we want to provide them with the tools. And it's a full year program with these girls, from workshops to outings to book clubs, to connecting them to the cultural experiences, connecting them with people outside of Liberia, introducing them to tech, health, hygiene, just really giving them the tools that allows them to position themselves for success. So I now get a chance to get back working on that with my team. And then I'm sort of reimagining
What's the website?
It's mblent.com, and you get to see some of my work that I've actually done as an entrepreneur globally, as well as connect with the Boss Lady Effect there as well. So that's up, and you can sign up, whether you want to just get more information, you want to donate, you want to participate, you want to facilitate a workshop. Again, like, these girls are some of the best, who are driven, and if you see their living conditions, but when I tell you the drive that they have, and it just kills me to not be able to do something. So, my goal is to make sure we're going to change the world one boss girl at a time. We're going to take them, we're going to empower them, we're going to grow them, and they're going to pass it on. So it's what I'm focused on right now, outside of continuing our mission to serve her deeply and globally in her community at Essence and Essence Ventures.
All right, Barku, let everyone know, because all the things that you're sharing is so inspirational. Let everyone know where they can find you on your social media. Just, if they want to reach out, they want to hit you up in your DMs and tell you how.
Slide into my DMs and... I don't know. That's just so cool. I just always want to say that. I don't know.
You did it right. What's your social media handle?
All my social media handles, I think, are just my name, Barku, on Instagram, Barkue. I think on Twitter is Barkue T. Facebook is Barku. I think I have like a page and like a regular profile. It's just Barku. I mean, I think with a name like Barku, you kind of keep it. Yes. I want to be like Madonna.
Real talk.
Beyonce.
I know, that's right.
I'm a one-namer.
Well, I'll be sure to put links to all of her Instagram handles, Facebook page, website, etc., all of that in the show notes as well.
Yeah, and I'm on LinkedIn as well. LinkedIn is my professional. I don't clown too much on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where I stay professional. Facebook, Instagram, you might see a little bit of anything. Facebook is it's like my African. That's Africans do Facebook, so you get a lot.
I love it.
I do, but Instagram is my main go-to. I love Instagram. I'm trying to do more.
That's where you be clowning.
I'll show you, like, you'll
see the boss lady on there for sure.
You'll see the boss lady. You'll see the goofy. You'll see, like, I am good at laughing at myself. Like, I crack myself up because I am silly as hell.
You are. But you are the best. You're so inspirational, and your energy is always on 10. We adore you, and we just thank you for coming on and sharing everything with us.
Oh, I thank you guys for having me. I love these conversations because they fuel me too. I appreciate the platform to force us to have these hard conversations, failures, the things that you sort of hide behind. Like, we don't show those on Instagram. Well, I do, but they're very important. And I appreciate you guys for having this platform, because I think that these are the platforms that our young girls and just women in general need to connect to remind themselves that it's okay to fall, but you will get back up. And so you guys are awesome for this.
Thank you. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Barku.
Woo, Barku killed it. That was such an amazing conversation.
Listen, her energy is next level.
Yes.
Like, her energy is next level. And I didn't know she was at the helm of Black women in sports.
Yes.
But the whole Black women I'm sitting here like, okay, let me find Black women in tech and because you need that village and you need that support. You know what I mean? So.
It's just great that she has not only the vision, but she's just implementing all these amazing things that are moving the culture forward. So thank you, Barku, for all you're doing. It was fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, that's our show. For the latest on Inside Lines Podcast, make sure to follow us at Inside Lines Podcast on both Instagram and Facebook.
And you can check us out online at insidelinespodcast.com, where you can listen to episodes and make sure you're forwarding and sharing your favorite with your friends. And then also, send us your questions, your comments, leave us feedback. If there's somebody you want us to talk to, a subject you want us to cover, leave us a voicemail at speakpipe.com/insidelines.
Until then, leave it all out on the field. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next time.